Hello, welcome to Three Crows Runes. My name is Jen. Let's do some rune readings. Today it is Thor's Day, the 20th day of the month of November, which is the month of 9, which is actually the 11th month, and the moon is new. It's a new moon. So, let's get started. Let's see what message wants to come through today. I am here with the Elder Futhark on Carnelian stones, because that's what I felt like today. So this is a message for whenever you find this video, and it's for whoever this message is for. So if you are listening to it and it doesn't resonate, just leave it for whoever it is for, or else just stick around and enjoy my presence. Or whatever. We're happy to have you, regardless. So we love you all dearly. I hope you're well. Times are very weird, as you know. Of course, you may, by the time you listen to this, maybe things are boring again, which would be lovely. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Quite interesting. Let's get this a little bit prettier. Right. Your central issue for those of you for whom this message is, and the message that wants to come through today, we have Uruz reversed. Uruz is the rune of the wild ox. This has to do with strength and health and stubbornness and resistance. It is reversed in the central issue spot, so I'm going to read this a couple ways. First of all, right now you are very much leaning on your resilience. You're very aware of your inner strength, your resilience, but there is a sense of having been a bit unseated and sort of knocked off your feet to a certain extent, where you feel like you weren't able to resist something that came at you, and you've now been knocked over because of it. It's basically you're and which is why you are now relying on your inner strength and your resilience to get through what you're in right now. Leading up to this, we have Laguz reversed. Laguz is the rune of water. It's emotion, intuition, heart, and flow. I'm going to read this a couple ways as well. First of all, things that were moving forward seems to have stopped. There's sort of the flow is not flowing, but also there's this sense of unpleasant emotions surging at this point, where you feel like, or or conversely, it could be a sense of where you're not feeling anything, where your heart is not in it, whatever it is that you're doing. But given that Uruz is basically reversed in the wild ox is reversed in the central issue spot, I'm sort of seeing it more like something stopped moving forward, and perhaps your heart isn't in it anymore, or the emotion isn't flowing anymore the way that it was, and there are now the potential for unpleasant emotions surging up, and as a result you are now feeling like, where am I? Where did the ground go? So what is going to help you? First of all, we have Algiz, which is the rune of the elk, otherwise known as the moose. It's reversed on the upper line. So what's helping you is really just, the elk is protection and support, or the moose is protection and support. And it's reversed on the upper line, which generally means inner. So we've got inner protection, inner support. You are actually able to stand up and support yourself. You are able to protect yourself and support yourself in this. Also inner support, so that would be anybody that you're connecting to in the NOR realms, the non-ordinary reality realms. So your goddesses, gods, guardians, guides, angels, ancestors, dragons, etc. So those things. And that's actually part of how you are able to just stand up and support yourself. So that is what's going to help you in this moment, which you're already doing because you have that resilience thing happening, that inner strength. What's going to help you with that is we have... What is this? These are so rolly. Ansuz reversed. Ansuz is the rune of communication, manifestation, and expression reversed. Again, this is inner because it's on the upper lines. Definitely those inner communications that you're going to have with your inner support, but also with your inner self. Like with you're having these conversations with yourself, inner dialogues. Outwardly, this has to do with listening as well. Just sort of being still, like being quiet and just sort of looking around and getting a good idea of the vibe of what's happening around you. Paying attention and listening as well will help. However, given that this is also the situation, what is helping you, Algi is reversed. So this is the way that you are going to be listening and communicating with having your inner dialogues and also communicating with your inner support. What isn't going to help? We have Nauthiz and we have Pertho reversed. So first of all, I'm going to actually talk about Pertho reversed. Pertho is the rune of the lot box. This has to do with surprises and fate. Whatever's in the lot box was already in the lot box, so when it opens, it may be a surprise to you, but once you see it, you'll be like, oh my gosh, this has been the case all along. Reversed in the lower line. This is basically, again, two ways. There has been an unpleasant surprise that has happened, or at least you're worried about an unpleasant surprise happening. In fact, this was, to a certain extent, the fact that this sort of ran out, the flow of this ran out, and the emotions are surging, and it's uncomfortable and unpleasant. Or you are feeling a bit numb, and you are feeling like your heart isn't in whatever it was going forward, and that's probably why this has slowed down, why the flow has slowed, or stopped in some cases. This was a sort of an unpleasant surprise. This was also a surprise about yourself that was, that you didn't realize, basically, but you realized was always the case. Now, this may also be worries about these things, but the fact that it's reversed in the lower line, I'm really going to read that both ways. So you may be worried about an unpleasant surprise or more unpleasant surprises, and you may also be worried about finding out something about yourself that you didn't realize before, but that was always the case, which was one of the reasons that this slowed down. Any responsibility you actually have for that, I'm sure you're already taking. It's just a matter of, but also, if that it's such a harmful thing to tell somebody who's going through something with somebody else that it takes two to tango, because sometimes it only takes the one to ruin everything. And so, especially in heaven forfend, an abusive situation. So, because the one person could just be very, very accommodating, very, very accepting, very, very loving, and the other one is just using that to hurt the person more. So, and this happens. That's one of the other things that's a problem with that kind of thing, is that people roundly have these ideas that nobody can be that bad and that there's good in everyone, and honestly, yes, they can, and no, there isn't. So yes, so this is just basically dealing with toxic people that you need to be very, very careful of. And if you find yourself being treated like a doormat, then it's absolutely fine to stop all of that and leave the situation. Anyway, that may be for some of you a thing that is happening, and then I wish you all the best with that, and please, be safe. So what isn't helping you at this point? There was this, as Lagu's reversed is saying, something stopped flowing, and now there's the emotions involved or lack thereof. What really, really doesn't help, and what's behind all of it is, either a worry about an unpleasant surprise happening or an actual unpleasant surprise, which would have been this, or a worry about finding out something about yourself you didn't know before that's going to sort of throw everything off, or actually you've learned something about yourself that you're sort of worried about. You're going to find this out because suddenly you're going to be really worried about the needs that need to be taken care of. So we have the first thing that isn't helping really, and that's what all that is. All those worries that I just mentioned are behind this. Ultimately, that's what's behind all of it. But you're going to be in the immediate present, even though you've been uprooted and feeling like you've been knocked off your feet, and you feel like you weren't able to resist what this was, and you sort of feel unseated. There is a sense of your immediate worry is, what about all the needs that need to be taken care of? So we have Nauthiz, which is the rune of need. It's upright, but it's in the lower line, so this is more like a worry about that kind of thing. So your worries about the needs that need to be tended to, and these are probably the things you were taking care of and the obligations you were having, that you were constantly doing until this just ran out. And now you're still in that habit of, how do I deal with this? I still have these things I have to do, and if I can do them, then I will fix things. But if it's run out to this point, and you are now relying on your resilience and your inner protection, you're protecting yourself and standing up for yourself, and you're having those inner dialogues, I think you can let go of this for now. I think you can just basically turn to your supporting yourself and protecting yourself, and ultimately, even just these inner dialogues are going to overcome whatever this reveal has been, whatever the lot box was showing you that was not helping you or that you were worried about. What if something terrible happens, but it's okay? And it's like, it's like I have to take care of these things or something terrible will happen. Well, this thing stopped, so you're in this situation now where you're trying to right yourself again. And that's going to happen by standing up, and you can support yourself. You're totally fine to do that. And you're going to be letting go of these things that you were doing that were just trying to maintain something that was actually slowing down already. So that will help you. What this is going to lead you to is we have Hagalaz, which is the rune of the hailstorm. This has to do with, I often read this as chaos and things that are out of our control, but it's also like weather and nature. And so I'm going to read this also a few ways. First of all, once you complete this step, there's going to be a recognition of what's happening as being very, very natural. It's just natural. It's just whatever happened is nature. Now, whether things pick up again, like whether this was just a slowing and then you can pick up after, or whether this is just a natural progression of things and you are coming back into step with your own true nature at this point and you can move forward, or whether this is you able to face the storm after this step, that remains to be seen, although I would like to see what comes next. So let me just quickly get a rune down on that. Yeah, so it looks like there is, if it's not a stop of what was going on, a complete stop, then it is allowing things to rest for a bit, because it very naturally happened. Like, this is just basically, okay, things are, to a certain extent, this is weather, this is things that are out of my control. And I have to step into my true nature and move through this as genuinely as possible. And so after that, things do seem to be stopping. We have Avaz, which is the horse. This is movement, and also spirit is reversed on the path line. So it's like the movement forward is not happening, and you're okay with that at that point. You're like, okay, we're either resting this or we're just not moving forward anymore on that. So I just gotta know. I gotta know. Yeah, so if there was a beginning, it's the end of a beginning. If it was something that you were looking forward to moving forward with, you're just basically wrapping it up at this point. Start a new beginning, basically. Go deep inward. This is several steps along, though, so you're not going to be there immediately. Like, this is 2-3 steps from where you are. So you do have to just let this happen naturally. A natural end seems to be happening, and then a new beginning will start to incubate from there. So just, again, continue to let this happen naturally. Make sure that you're supporting yourself and protecting yourself, and listening on the outside and having the inner dialogues on the inside. But this is going to progress very naturally, and I think there is an ending happening. I mean, your heart's not in what you were doing anyway. It just basically, it sort of stopped. So, I mean, it took you a bit by surprise, but at the same time, it's a natural progression. So yeah, keep yourself supported, have those inner dialogues, and let nature happen, basically. So that is the message that wanted to come through today. I wish you all the best with this, and I wish you a lovely day or evening. Take care till next time. Bye!